Hi everyone. In this video I'm going to talk about what to feed your pet pigeon. Pigeons are grainivores, so they eat seeds. Most of their food is going to be seeds that you buy in a pigeon mix. And the one I got at my local feed store was 50 pounds of this Winter's Cut product. I already knew ahead of time that she didn't like whole corn kernels, so I chose one that didn't have corn. You just have to get to know your pigeon. I recommend starting off with a smaller bag of bird seed, especially when it's your first pigeon and you just aren't really sure what that pigeon's going to prefer. Here's what my seed mix looks like. It's just there's safflower, there's wheat berries, there's peas, and there's a bunch of other things I don't necessarily even know the name of. But in the end, every pigeon's different, and they're going to just end up loving some of the seeds and pick through and find those. And there's probably going to be one or two kinds of seeds that they just refuse to eat no matter how hungry they are. So the best thing you can do to ensure they're getting a good variety is to give them a small amount the same time every day, and just let them kind of graze throughout the day and see what's left over at the end of the day or at the end of the 24-hour period. Ideally, they eat everything in their bowl, and you know that they're getting a good variety. Most likely, your pigeon will end up refusing to eat one or two of the kinds of seeds that are in your mix, and that's just normal. Every pigeon's a little different in what they like. Let's see. Okay, so another thing I wanted to say is that depending on the size of their beak, they need different size seeds. Obviously, pigeons with really large beaks can get away with eating the large pigeon peas that come in a lot of the mixes. But if you end up getting a pigeon with a really small beak, and there are some specialty breeds that have teeny tiny beaks, then obviously you might need to get a different kind of bird seed that's maybe geared more towards smaller beaked birds, like a cockatiel mix or something like that. But again, as long as you're getting a good variety of seeds as best you can, then you're going to be fine. Another thing that's really great to have for your pigeons is something called grit. This is a popular brand with pigeon people. It's called KT High Calcium Grit. This is the one made for small birds. It says so right on the label. And this is basically tiny rocks, and it's also fortified with calcium. So the rocks are needed to help them break down the seeds in their stomach. And the calcium, of course, is a great additive that especially the egg-laying birds need. So the thing is, the bottle will say, leave a bowl of this in with your pigeons and let them eat as much as they want. Definitely do not do that. Do not listen to the label of this product, because pigeons can often eat too much grit, and that can ruin their digestive tract, and you'll have to take them into the vet to fix it, because it can be a serious problem. So what you do instead with the grit is you open it up and you take a pinch of grit as if you're taking a nice pinch of salt, and you sprinkle it on their bowl of food just like you would salt. And you would do that 2 or 3 times a week. And so that's how they would get their grit. And then they can just find it in their mix of seeds. All right. Another thing is that pigeons will often enjoy foods other than seeds. And I'm not talking about those pellets that you might find in some animal stores. They don't really need those kind of human-made pellets. What I'm talking about is more food like the dark leafy greens like kale or collards. They also like salad greens or herbs like cilantro and basil. And then some birds, some pigeons really love things like chopped, unsalted peanuts. A lot of the pigeons find those really enticing, and they're a special treat for some families. My pigeon doesn't care for peanuts, so you just have to figure out what works for you. And even chopped red sweet peppers can be a treat for some pigeons. A lot of people can just chop them up and offer them in a bowl where they'd feed their seeds. Some people, like me, my bird will only eat dark leafy greens other than her seed mix. And so here's a couple kale leaves. She really doesn't eat much more than this at a time anyway. And I'll offer her like 2 or 3 or 4 times a week. And I'll just hold them in front of her and let her peck at them. And she'll take as much as she wants. Or I might break them up into little bits for her and put them down near her food bowl, and she'll eat them that way. I can even hand feed her by putting the little bits in my hand. And I have a really easygoing pigeon, so in terms of like feeding her, she's really gentle, and you know, she's not afraid of me. Some pigeons, especially if they're new to your family, they might be a little skittish at first. So it's just going to take some time for them to get used to you, and don't worry about it. Let's see. Oh, other people grow these right in their bird cage if they're in a nice sunny window, and then the pigeons can just forage for as much as they want. So there's different things that you can do. So let's see. And then in terms of the bowls that you'd be using for your food and water, you just grab those. Usually you can find something in your house that works pretty well. These kind of bowls and Japanese teacups I already had in my kitchen when we got our pigeon. And so this was our food bowl. They will end up flinging seeds out pretty much no matter what kind of container you put them in. So that's just what they like to do. They pick their favorites out first, and then as they get hungrier, they'll eat the other kinds of seeds that are their less and less favorite. In the water bowl, it's important to make sure that it's deep enough for them to fit their whole beak in. You want to fill it up close to the top because they use their whole beak kind of like a straw. And so they're going to stick their beak in, and instead of having to gulp like this, like you see some other kind of city birds, pigeons just stick it in and go slurp, 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 and then they're done, and they shake off the drip of water. And so it has to be deep enough for them to fit their whole beak in there. And you want to make sure you're checking your water throughout the day, and change it like at least twice a day. Make sure it's clean with no seeds or feathers, or you know, if the water level gets too low, they won't be able to drink very well. So you just want to keep an eye on their water throughout the day. And that's it for what to feed your pigeon. Again, just remember, every pigeon's unique and every pigeon's special, and you'll get to know what yours likes best. All right, I look forward to seeing you again on the next video.